3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Good evening. It's Monday again already. Where has that week gone? Welcome along to Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan, and my pals from the world of comedy, showbiz, entertainment, and anywhere else I can find them, really. Every week we talk about mental health, mental wellness, what we do, why we do it, how we deal with the good times, the bad times. We want you to help as well. Let us have your top tips for well-being. Let us know you're there by putting comments in the box. Do give us a like on YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook. Just tell your friends, really. And subscribe, of course. Very important that you subscribe at this day and age. Quick mention to Lost Boys UK for this fantastic theme tune. Have a look at my website, happytohelpyou.com. We've got great guests. We've got a great show. We've got a great audience. Let's get to it. Good evening. Welcome along to Reading the Signs with me, John Ryan. Here I am, still in my little Japanese laundry. How's your day been? What have you been up to? We start with the weather. It's been a bit rainy today, a bit grey, and it's been fantastic because that's my kind of weather. You may not like it, and every week I make this point. When we're talking about wellness and well-being, we can all experience the same things in different ways. So I like the cold and the drizzle and the grey. You don't. Doesn't mean one of us is right, one of us is wrong. Just how we're experiencing things. There you go. So, what's happening? What are you up to? By the time you're listening to me, I will be, I believe, in La Rochelle in France. So it's one of my favourite places to go to. Absolutely beautiful. If you've not been there, do go. I'm not like being paid to advertise. I might just really like it. But if you do go, make sure that you get on a flight that's got an early arrival, because after 6 o'clock, all the taxi drivers go home and they don't care, as only the French can. So we head now in towards the autumn, in towards the winter. The nights get darker earlier, it gets colder, and it just gets better and better for some of us because we like it. But for others, it's not quite as much fun. So later on, we will be mentioning a little bit about seasonal adjustive disorders and also how that affects us. But before that, let me tell you about tonight's guest. As you know, every week I get someone I like or someone I think is funny from the circuit. Not necessarily the most famous comic or the most successful, but just people I think are decent human beings who've got something to offer. And tonight's guest is no exception to this. Louie Green, I've worked with a few times. We're mates. I'll go down the pub with him. He would be a really good guy to hang out with because he's interested and he's interesting. And those are the kind of people that I like to be around. Very funny. Do go and watch him if you get a chance to. But in the meantime, while he's not kicking tonight, he's going to be talking to us from his bed, because that's how he rolls. That's how rock and roll this man is. It's 7 o'clock on a Monday night, and he's thought, I'm going to bed. That's the way I like to do it. So if I can ask everyone, please welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you doing? Right?
I'm good, mate. What's happening? What are you up to? What's the story of the bed? What's going on?
It's the only place that's not accessible to my 1-year-old. So,
all right.
It's that, or have a 1-year-old climbing all over me while I'm doing the show.
Is it coincidental that was probably where he was conceived? Is he like a salmon? Does he just want to return to his breeding pond?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There certainly won't be any more conceived since there's been a 1-year-old either. So,
well, I've got to say, mate, I'm fascinated by the notches on the headpost on the next to you. So what's that? Is that like, you got your dressing up kit, or is that like bondage gear there over your left shoulder?
Yeah, that is. That's no. This is a. To be fair, this is a blind.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
It's not a sort of show, Lou. It's not a sort of show, mate. You're not Felix Day Radio now, son.
No, I know. But no, the notches on the bedpost are how many hours I've slept since having the babe. So
mate, that's what it's all about. They keep you awake to stop you making more of them.
Yeah, that's 100% the truth.
It is a secret. What was you like as a kid? Where are you in the family? You're the eldest, youngest, middle, what?
I'm the eldest, and I was a bit of a live wire compared to the rest, to be fair.
How many of them? How many of them are there?
There's 4 altogether.
Okay.
There's 2. I've got 2 brothers and a sister, and the sister's the youngest and the favourite, obviously. Yeah, it goes without saying. But yeah, I was a bit of a live wire, younger, difficult child. Ended up in foster care. So yeah,
that took an unexpected turn. You went from wearing a blindfold in bed to foster care. That was like, we missed out on something in between.
Yeah, I was just, mate, mum and dad went for a breakup. I was just a bit lively. Mum couldn't cope, so she decided to, put me in foster care for a bit.
You comfortable talking about that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So where was you put? Where was you placed?
I went through about 5 different homes because I was a bit lively. Yeah, a bit lively. And then I settled with a family, weirdly enough, just around the corner from my mum's house, and settled down with them, and they were lovely, and stayed there until I returned home. Yeah, it's all right. And to be fair, like, it made me, really, because I'm very different to my brothers and sisters. I'm a lot more driven. So yeah, and I put that down to the foster system.
That, I think, is fascinating, mate. Absolutely fascinating, because that goes against conventional belief, doesn't it? It's that whole thing about the foster system destroys people, ruins kids, breaks up families, undermines.
No, I don't believe that at all. I think that's just the perception that people have from the outside. The social, I think there's a real negativity around social workers, and nobody realizes actually the good that they do.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, so our social worker actually probably saved our family rather than by taking me away. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's really nice to hear. Was you all right when you went back into the family, though, or did you have to reassert your, I'm the daddy in there, where's your tool? Was it
Nah.
So a Ray Winston kind of moment.
My brother's got a little bit leery because they were back to having an older brother around again. Had to put the pecking order back in place.
Someone had to take charge. It's that thing, isn't it? You're not meant to place kids into families where they become the eldest.
Yeah.
So it's funny how then it's all right to return them to a family when they're the eldest. But so academically then, at school, did you like school, or was you lively at school as well?
Yeah, I was lively at school. The problem I had was I was very set on what I wanted to do for a living, and I always, from the age of about 8, wanted to be a stand-up comedian. But the problem you have is the minute you tell a school that you want to do something from the arts, especially back then, they were like, "Oh, no, get a proper job, go out and get a trade." My careers advisor genuinely told me there was more chance of me ending up in prison than becoming a stand-up comedian.
Well, captive audience, you know.
So there's a lot of So basically, I think if I'd have been able to go down the route of doing drama and things like that, and the teachers had kept my interest, I'd have been all right. But because I wasn't a typical person that slots into the square hole. I want to be a bit different.
Well, you know what? Different is good. There's nothing wrong with that, so long as it's handled properly. And straight away, mate, you've got to just have a little shout out to the most different person I know. It's Big Stevie Troop. He's a regular listener. He will try and get some work out of you, because he's gone from being homeless and unemployed and at the bottom to having his own company. He's married, got a beautiful missus, great kid, and he's always out for an opportunity. And funny enough, where we've had conversations, we've had similar sort of, like, we both believe in interventions rather than just letting things sort themselves out. So when you was at school, then was you like bright? How did you fit in with your classmates?
Yeah, I was a predicted A-star student all the way through school, but again, just messed about too much, really. One of my English teacher wanted me to go into journalism, which was absolutely never going to happen because I couldn't be a journo. West Ham fan and I.
Oh, right, okay, that's fair enough. So you'd lose all credibility, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be able
yeah, exactly. I can't be going down to the game and them not knowing I'm a journo. But now, any sort of creative writing and stuff like that, I enjoyed. But yeah, I went from being an A-star student to my actual grades. I could spell fudge.
Do you know what? That's the comic in you. That is, you sat and thought that through. If I do this properly. Yeah, that's what ABBA came about, wasn't it? So
yeah, exactly.
They all got 2 A's and 2 B's, possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, because you're a comic, I know that your brain is now going through the names of all the other bands you can think of really quickly. Going, Oasis, no, that doesn't work. E17, that works. So, did you go to university after school, or what did you do?
Nah, I dropped out. I sort of went to a hairdressing school.
Mate, I need 2 hours for you. I knew it was interesting, but this is taking it to new levels. We should be having this conversation in a Witherspoon somewhere.
Yeah.
So you went to hairdressing school?
Yeah, I went to hairdressing school because I don't know. I think it was the only place that would accept me to go on to further education to start with.
Mate.
And then it was like, I didn't really enjoy it because it was minimum wage and not a lot of money. And so I sort of jumped in, and then I got an apprenticeship as a plasterer.
Hang on. This is just jumping. This is just mate. If I'm watching this film, I'm going, it's plots all over the place. What's going on?
It is all over the place.
And it's almost fortuitous, whatever the word is. Adrian down in Cardiff, he's just changed jobs. So Adrian maybe, I don't think he'd go for anything as drastic as plastering to hairdressing. But how could you have a hyperactive hairdresser? It was never going to work, mate. Even I would have told you that.
Nah, it wasn't. And I bounced around through jobs for quite a while, and then settled down in the security industry for quite a few years.
So you went into plastering, and then that didn't work?
Yep.
Why didn't you like plastering?
To be honest, I think it was just the experience that I had around people of where I was working.
Okay.
There was a guy that I worked with who sort of become a real father figure to me called Frank, and I'm still good friends with him now. Shout out Frank if you're listening.
Frank the plasterer.
Yeah, Frank the plasterer. And he kind of became my dad, really. Sort of taught me how to shave, all that sort of stuff. Put his arm around me.
But didn't you, hang on, if you learned how to shave earlier, you could have done hairdressing. You could have done a lot, couldn't you?
Mate,
hair and beard. But
this is about 8 months worth of growth.
You can't do the trendy little goatees then.
Nah.
Little hipsters. So it was Frank. Is he West Ham as well?
Nah. Frank's. I don't know. No, he doesn't really like domestic football that much. He's an Irishman.
The more I hear about Frank, the more I like him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Geographically, where are we talking about? Where were you at this stage?
Ipswich.
Okay, Ipswich. So why isn't Ipswich your team? What happened? Where did West Ham connection come from?
Everybody in my family hates West Ham.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I went to a game and watched West Ham versus Ipswich, and that was it. I just fell in love with the fans, and like they've just got this like unity that's incredible, and I really liked it. So I became a West Ham fan.
Well, do you know, conversation, right? Even just general upbeat conversation, going nowhere. It's funny how, I earn my living getting men to open up. And who would have thought, just by you telling us about your experience, Adrian was a hairdresser. Highlight of my career. There you go. He's trying to shoehorn jokes in there. He had a couple of hairdresser jobs. Highlights of my career. I'm working on his humour. Adrian, that was good, mate. That was good.
Yeah, not bad.
So then, where did the comedy come from? Because you weren't like really young when you started comedy, were you?
Nah. I started 4 years ago. But what happened was, so when I was 8, I used to. My granddad was like the person in my life who was just incredible. He's no longer with us, bless him. But we used to go around his house and we'd be like, "Oh, let's put the cartoons on." But Granddad would never let us watch cartoons, so we'd always put things like Mr. Bean on, or Morecambe and Wise was the one. We used to watch Morecambe and Wise so much.
Brilliant.
And it just made me grow this like love for comedy. And then when I got a little bit older, and Mum had this VHS of Billy and Albert, and I was like, I've got to watch that. Love comedy. And I just that was where the love started, and I've loved it ever since. And I couldn't even tell you how many stand-up specials I've watched. It's insane.
But didn't you go into, tell us about your social work career? How did that come back?
So I fell into social services accidentally. It started off that I worked I went into security, worked there for a long time. I got married while I was working in security. The relationship started breaking down because I was away a lot. So I decided to get a job locally, and then went into social services from there, really, and built a career in social services. It was all right. It was good. It was nice to be able to give back to the people that helped me. So, but yeah,
it's good. That's a nice little bookmarking. But still, in your heart, it was comedy was calling you, was it?
100%. And then Granddad passed away. He had dementia.
Oh, mate.
And it's just a rank disease. And then I just went, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. And I was 30 at this point, just turned. So I went and give it a go. Absolutely loved it and haven't looked back since.
Okay. So, and what was it? What was your first gig?
My first gig was in a place called Sudbury, which is just outside of Ipswich.
Outside of Ipswich, okay.
it was in the corner of a little tiny pub, and a guy called Paul Johnston.
Right.
He runs Suffolk Punch Comedy Club. He was running it, and I just messaged him out and just said, "Look, I'm looking to do some comedy. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Could you give me a spot?" He went, "How much material have you got?" I told him I got 10. And he was like, and as you know, I didn't have 10.
Yep.
I got on stage, spoke for 2.5 minutes, ran out of things to say. But that 2.5 minutes changed my life.
Wow. You love the buzz that much?
Yeah, definitely. You've got to love it, haven't you, John? You've got to love it.
Back to work next day. Back to reality.
Back to work next day. And I think I spent the whole day just Googling how I can get another gig.
But see, I think, because obviously you've got great life experience and you're very affable, but I also think because of the work you do, it's what makes you such a good comic, because you're not fazed by audiences just because of their colour, their age, their demographic, because that's what you're around. So you don't look at an audience and judge them negatively. You just think, I got the feeling when I saw you the first time was that you just, I'm one of your mates, I'll have a chat, which is pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
In fact, we were dressed so similar. I think that night I went on and said, I know you're thinking Louie's back and he's put on weight.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? It was, we were both in the standard uniform, weren't we? Black t-shirt and jeans.
That's right. That's right. Although I did have shirt and jacket in the car, just in case. A little bit more professional there, mate. You'll learn. Got these all going. So then you've done a few gigs. What happened when you had a bad one?
I can tell you exactly the gig. I can tell you exactly how many gigs it was in as well. That was my 7th gig, and I went down to a hostel in London to do a gig. And
a hostel?
It was a hostel. And I spoke to silence for 10 minutes. And it was painful. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I walked off, and I got outside, and there was a pro comic that had gone down just to talk through some stuff. And I was having a chat to him, and he just turned around to me and he was like, "You do realise none of them speak English, right?"
That's hilarious.
And I was like, "Oh." I was like, so it wasn't a case of I wasn't funny, then they just didn't understand what I was saying. And he was like, exactly that. Yeah. So that was my first bad gig. It was bad.
But see, that I've told this before, but I was doing a gig for the military. They'd come back from Afghanistan, they'd go to Cyprus, we'd entertain them. And I went out on stage, said, "How you doing? It's nice to be here. It's an absolute honour to perform for you. Give yourselves a round of applause." Nothing. Told a few jokes. They just were like that. And I had to do 20 minutes. And you've got to do your time. You've got no choice. They just stared at me. Stuff that would normally get a round of applause or a laugh or a joke, they just stared at me. So I just done my time, kept smiling. Teeth in tits, they call it in showbiz, don't they?
Yeah.
Just got through it. While I'm on there, I'm thinking, I've lost it. I can't do this no more. I'm not funny. Funny has left me. And then my brain, as I'm doing more of my best material, getting nothing, my brain started thinking of other things I could do. By around the 15-minute mark, I decided I was going to sign up for a plumbing course at Forest College. By about 18 minutes, I'd figured I could probably get a startup grant from the Prince of Wales Trust, get my first qualification in plumbing, just do bathrooms and that to start with. 2 years, I'll be fully qualified. That's it, got a plan, brilliant. And then as I introduced the next act, he shook my hand and went, "Listen, bruv, don't worry about it. It happens all the time." I went, "Thank you." Then I went backstage, started Googling Epping Forest College courses, and I can hear silence. I'd have a peep out the door. He's getting silence, which made me feel better, because it's better to die together. Then he came off, and he was like, "Oof." And then the show manager came in and said, "What's happened with you two? You're bankers. You're guaranteed. You're going to work every time. What's going on?" And we're like, "I don't know." There's another knock at the door, a little squaddy. He goes, "Guys, don't take it personally. Before the gig, we all agreed the first person to laugh got filled in."
Oh, mate.
All guys, 300 people to sit and stare at us. I was like, "Woof." But by then, I'd already kind of enrolled at college, applied for funding, mate. But, it's all about, though, isn't it? It's all about perceptions, and it's all about what we think is going on as opposed to what is actually going on. And at this point, I'm just going to say a quick hello to our favourite horologist, Robert. Robert, I think it's time travel horology. I don't. Do you know what that is?
No, I have no idea. No,
he's a time traveller. I did think he was a psychologist, but no, it turns out. Robert, you got to explain what it is you do, mate. But thanks for coming along anyhow. So you got your 2 jobs going in parallel, right? You've got your day job, and then you're doing your gigs. How do you balance that? How does that work? You've got.
To be honest, I don't really. I moved on into a contract job role to make it more flexible, so I could like leave early if I need to get to gigs and start earlier, and I didn't have to be sort of like time facing and stuff like that, or front of house facing. So it sort of opened up a new world of working hours. But to be honest, to this day, I still can't tell you how I balanced it. It's mental. I think you just get used to being tired. To be honest with you.
I did my first gig, and then a year I worked and did the two side by side. But I worked 3 12-hour shifts a week, so I only worked 2 nights when I wasn't, on shift. Or if my shift finished at 7:30, I would do a gig in London at kind of 9 or 10 o'clock. So, and I didn't want to be a comedian, so I didn't have that drive that you've got.
Yeah, that is the thing. There's no other career for me really. I just want to be a stand-up comic. I'm proper lucky because I've got like the most supportive partner in the world, and she'll sit there. She kicks me out the door, mate. To be honest with you, she'll sit there saying, "What? You've only got 3 gigs this week. You know you need to do 4, so get another one in the diary." She's probably having an affair, but
but you know what? If she's happy,
as long as he's out with the babe, mate, that's all that matters.
If it's, what's one of my favourite jokes, because I was brought up on jokes. Bloke comes home and his missus is getting it on with his best mate, so he takes a knife out, and stabs his best mate to death, and the missus goes, "You carry on like that, you'll have no friends left."
Oh my goodness. I like that.
I always love proper jokes, which is why sometimes when an audience will go, "Tell us a joke," I'll tell them a joke. Okay, there you go, there's a joke for you.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I've never had that burning drive that you've got, that kind of, I want to make it. You're not setting yourself up to fail.
I think like the thing is as well is what you're happy with making it. Like I don't want TV. I'm not bothered by TV. I just want to be able to say that comedy is my day job. Like I feed my family by doing comedy. That's all I want. That to me, that's making it.
I think it's all right while you've got a 1-year-old who can do a bit of formula or breast milk.
Yeah.
But as he starts getting on the solids, it's going to get a little bit tougher, mate.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, we'll see where it goes. I'm happy.
And then, how does that then impinge on your general physical health?
Yeah, so it's probably a good time to mention. I had a bit of a situation. You know this. I think I've told you before.
I
had a bit of a situation in lockdown where
a bit of a situation.
Yeah,
How cool are you? A bit of a situation. Do you know what
I mean? I nearly passed away during lockdown.
You nearly died. Let's not undersell it here.
Yeah, I nearly died in lockdown. I had a perforated bowel. I had a belly ache, and I did what every man in the world does. I just completely ignored it. And I ended up getting a perforated bowel. Which
how do you get a perforated bowel then? Have you eaten ball bearings or something?
No, I was diagnosed with diverticular disease, which is an old people's disease. And basically that just got really bad, and I kept having flare-ups, which I didn't know. The doctors just kept fobbing me off saying it was IBS. So I just accepted it was IBS and carried on with my life. And then one day I just collapsed and rushed into hospital. Woke up. I had sepsis at the same time because of the perforated bowel. And basically, I woke up and the doctor went, "We're going to give you a colostomy bag," and I was like, "Absolutely not."
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, he said, "Look, if you don't have a colostomy bag, then that's it for you. Unfortunately, you're going to have to say goodbye to everybody." And then never has my mind been changed so quickly.
Yeah, that's the thing. When people face death, they'll go, "All right, I can deal with this. I'll deal with this. I'll deal with the next one. Deal with the next one."
Yeah.
Going back to your diet, did you have no symptoms?
Just belly aches, mate. And every time I went to the doctors, they just turned around and said, "Oh, it's probably IBS. Let's cut this out. Let's cut that out, and we'll see if we can get to the bottom of what's triggering it." It turns out it wasn't IBS.
No, but it's because there are symptoms with I can't even say it. Diverticular.
Yeah, diverticular disease. Yeah,
diverticular disease. That's it. So yeah, people because I'm not a clinician. I'm not a practitioner. I've been doing like men's health talks for like the last 18 years, so I've kind of picked up a few little bits. Did you have like blood in your poo or?
I did, but I just put it down to like piles, really.
Just the strap-on was a bit too excessive.
Yeah. It's just a bit too much.
I just put it down to pile. That's wonderful, mate. Honestly, just wonderful. You didn't get high temperature or anything like that, or
when I had the flare-ups, I did. And that was when they started. It was when I got the first set of fevers that I was put into hospital, and that's when they started actually looking into it. And
incredible.
Yeah, it's mental, mate. Absolutely mental. Like
It's incredible. I'll tell you, right? I go into workplaces and I'll do like a men's health talk, right? And it is funny. It's comedy. I've done the shows at Edinburgh, so I know they work as. But anyway, and honestly, the things men have shown me over the last kind of 18 years. Only 5-6 weeks ago, I do a thing about breast cancer. I had to check, and a guy said to me afterwards, like, "That's a bit awkward. Could I just show you something?" I'm like, "All right." Under his button, and his nipple could barely see. It was black, covered in a crust. And I said, "Mate, you need to go to doctors." He goes, "Yeah, I'll give him a ring when I'm home." I went, "All right, let's just get a cup of tea here for a second. Let me just get someone to go and get the site nurse who as happens was there because I was there." She came in, sat with him, and said, "Look, I'll go with you now to A&E. We'll go to A&E." And he had breast cancer.
Wow!
And he showed it to a comedian in a canteen at 7:30 in the morning. You don't just wake up with it like that. It takes weeks and months and months. I've had lads who've had blood coming out of their backsides, and they're like, "Wow, it's just piles." One guy was wearing like tenor lady kind of things.
Yeah,
because he was just embarrassed. I'm like, wow, you can't be embarrassed by it.
I think that's a big thing, isn't it? Like men just seem to think they're men and they need to brush it under a carpet, and that's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so someone like you to talk openly and honestly, I do really appreciate it because, like you say, everyone thinks, oh no, what does it involve then? You happy to tell us that?
Yeah, of course. So I obviously no longer poo from my backside. I have a bag that's on the lower left side of my belly, and I have a piece of my intestine stitched, sort of a working piece of intestine, which is covered by a bag, and then I just change my bag each day.
Is it still a West Ham bag?
No, it's not. I haven't got the cover on it anymore. I've still got the cover in the drawer, just don't wear it.
Because that just seems a bit unfair to say West Ham are full of.
Yeah.
You said it, not me, mate. Let's just all take a step back. So, how long did it take you to get used to it?
So, like yourself, John, I probably deal with everything with comedy, and I'm guessing you do the similar thing.
Yeah.
It's just a standard with comedians, isn't it? And I sort of, again, this is where my partner come in really, because I sort of just laid about, like, depressed, didn't want to go out of the house. Absolutely convinced my partner was going to leave me because I had this disgusting bag. And then my partner turned around to me and she was like, people watch you live on stage, people look up to you.
Yeah.
Why don't you use the platform?
Yeah.
And my nurse was here at the time, at the same time, because you have quite an intensive sort of recovery and you get a lot of support. And she was like, that'd be amazing. So I got out of bed, we put my West Ham bag on, and my partner took a photo and we uploaded it onto social media. And after I got that upload, I think it hit something like 400-500 likes and just people like well wishing. And I was just like, okay, people are way more accepting than I expect they were. So that sort of started the journey for me to be able to accept the fact that everybody else was accepting it so easy.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Because we all think we want to be empathetic, sympathetic, understanding, but there are certain things that people just get really freaked out by.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this the other day that, like, because I worked in a care home, so mate, I'm happy to clean you up. I ain't got a problem with vomit, poo, wee, or toenails. I struggle with toenails. I can't, honestly, for some reason, toenails, they just go, oh, mate. I was a mate of mine, he got beat up in the street and they probably smashed him up. And he went into hospital and he was in a coma. He had to have a metal plate put in. So we went to visit him in hospital, 3 of us. And he had just sort of come around, he's still a little bit groggy and that. And we were talking and having a laugh. And he went, get nurse. And Ricky was like, what's going on, brother? He goes, need toilet bad. So Ricky went, oh, what are we going to do? I picked up a little, one of the little bottles that they have in the hospital. And I just flicked up his willy, stuck it in it. He had a wee. Then when he was finished, I kind of knocked it about, took it off, put the sheet back over him, emptied the bottle, washed it out, and then sat down. And the other two were looking at me like I'd just murdered someone.
Yeah.
And I was going, "What's up?" He goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe you touched the man's wood." Well, no, I just put a bottle on him, so he needed a wee.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. That's nasty, man. I went, "What are you talking about? It's our mate, you know."
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
nah. And then Ben said, "So what would you have done if he'd needed a poo? What would you have done?" I said, "Well, I would have just rolled him on his side and put the bowl thing under him and held him up while he'd done it." "What'd you have done?" Ben went, "I would have opened the window."
Goodness sake.
It's just people, isn't it?
It is. It's just, it's a weird one though, because I experienced a lot of, people would say to me things like, "Oh, it must be disgusting. It must smell," but it doesn't do any of them things. And actually, like, it's probably cleaner than anybody else that does it the normal way. So
Yeah.
it's what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Well,
part
do
of
you know,
life now.
mate, I'm surprised you ain't got an OnlyFans page.
There's probably some. That's definitely a fetish. Definitely.
Mate, I want to see that material next time we're on together. I want to hear your OnlyFans. Louis Greens, we'll call it. That's your page.
Yeah, nice.
Does it affect your diet? Do you have to eat certain things or not eat certain
mate,
things?
it made my diet better because beforehand I couldn't like eat. There's certain things that I'm not allowed to eat, but they're the boring stuff like lettuce and tomatoes, mate.
How's lettuce boring?
I can't stand lettuce.
Oh, mate, I love a bit of lettuce.
But
Bit of iceberg, bit of crispy iceberg, mate.
Nah, not for me. But I couldn't eat anything spicy when I had the diverticular disease. Now I can eat as much spicy as food as I want, and that's the one takeaway.
No, I think yeah. Look, mate. I appreciate your honesty. For people just joining in, thanks for coming along to Men's Radio Station, or LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, wherever you listen to us. I'm John Ryan. This is Reading the Signs. This week's amazing guest is Louis Green, comedian, radio presenter, superhero, fetish man. And I really appreciate the fact that you're happy to talk about the stoma bag. How did that affect you mentally?
Yeah, like badly to start with, because it all happened in COVID and we were in lockdown restrictions. So I was in hospital, had the operation, and I couldn't see anybody. Like, I was just in this one ward with nobody else, and that was probably the hard bit. And then I got home and could see my family and stuff like that, and that's when the real recovery starts, because that's when you start mentally recovering. And don't get me wrong, there's still times where I have the odd wobble where I go, "Oh, why do I have this?" But then I just think back to, I wouldn't be here if I didn't. So.
And how's the baby with it? Do you have to be careful holding him, or?
Nah, this is the most amazing thing in the world. So that was one of the big things that got into my head, was like, when I had it, my partner was 6 months pregnant, so babe wasn't here yet. Yeah. And my stoma nurse, it's a fantastic charity called Buttony Bear. Give it a look, donate to them. They're amazing.
Buttony Bear.
Buttony.
Okay.
Buttony. And what they do is they create teddy bears with stomas so that kids can accept them.
Wow.
And my stoma nurse came home and she'd brought a Buttony Bear for my little girl, or my little baby. And so like immediately straight away we were given, we were just given them tools to be able to make people understand.
Yeah, I could see that. And then, so your missus is at this stage 5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
You nearly die because you're alpha
dramatic,
male.
and I am dramatic.
Mate, proper drama queen. Got to be done. And then, so you've got to deal with a stoma bag. She's going to leave you. You've got a baby on the way. Yeah. COVID's there, so you can't see your mates and cope with it. What's the sort of what's the secret? What stopped you from like just going over the edge?
Still to this day, I don't really know. It's the darkest place I've ever been, definitely. But I think it was just the idea. I approach most things in life with it can get better. Like it's rubbish now, but it will get better. And I like the nurses in the hospital were amazing. I had some great guys who were in similar situations to me on the ward, and they were really supportive. So I think that just got me through it. But I don't think I had any particular coping mechanisms. I'll tell you what I did, actually, knowing that I was going to meet my babe, I think.
Yeah, just something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Something to focus on. I think especially for a lot of men, I'm sure there's women as well, but for a lot of men, is that having something to just a purpose. We need some sort of result, don't we? We need to have something that's going to get us through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
And so now, do you do work for Stoma UK or anything like
that? So I just presented to United. No, what was it? The United Ostomy Association of America. So I just did their national conference. I was the open talker for that. Did a stand-up set. Okay. And then Colostomy UK are now about to do a big piece on me as well, which I don't know really what it entails. I think it's just a bit of a story about me and about how I cope. And everybody seems to be interested.
yeah, you know why? Because it's, I don't want to say brave, because I hate that word when we're talking about something you did have a choice in. But it's that thing of, it needs one person to go, yeah, I've got this, or I've had that. And then other people then maybe will take it a bit more seriously, because people live with these conditions and they don't need to.
No.
And it's about people like yourself then. I mean, you didn't choose to be like a role model or anything like that, but, you know, sometimes you just got to live with the hand you've been dealt, isn't you?
Yeah, I think for me as well, like, if I can make one person feel a little bit better about it, then we're all good. Do you know what I mean?
So there's an organisation, and they Colostomy UK. They basically support and campaign on behalf of people with stomas, and they had this amazing photo shoot where they got women with bags to quite happily wear their bag with pride, I think it was.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a male equivalent of it when I was looking. I'm not asking you to stand up now in your pants and, you know, because this would probably be the start of your OnlyFans career.
Yeah, that would be.
And I don't mind your missus will come in just then.
Yeah, where's your donate button as well?
But no, I think, you know, I just, again, we never know what's going on in other people's lives, and it's fascinating when someone's on stage. People have an opportunity from the stage to use that as a platform to help other people, or to make a difference if you choose to, or to even go, yeah, you know, I've got this. Have you worked with Gareth Berliner?
No, I haven't. I have heard of him though.
Yeah, amazing bloke. Yeah, he's got this Crohn's disease, and he goes into hospital every now and again. He gets his blood cleaned up and that.
Yeah, good mate of mine, Jake Steers, another comic on the circuit. He's the same. Got Crohn's, goes in, has his blood cleaned up and everything.
And it's a bummer if you're out on the lash with him, because you know the next morning you're going to have hangover, and you just go on a machine and happy days.
Yeah,
let's do a bottle of tequila. Happy days. Cleans him all out. Where do you see your comedy going? Where do you want it to take you to?
Just, I don't know. That's always a hard question. I can never answer it. Like I say, I just like it as a job. I've always took comedy as like, as long as I can make one person laugh and feel a little bit better. This is so cliche, by the way. If I can make one person feel a little bit better in that room and take them out of wherever they are and make them feel a little bit better, then I'm cool with that.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because obviously we don't get into comedy to be like role models or anything like that. But like I say, it does. You can make a difference. I know that somewhere in South Wales there's a little man with tears in his eyes. Said you've got an inspirational journey. You know, even just for that little bit of a share that you've given there, you've kind of opened someone's eyes to that thing, of that daily thing of what you go through, what you're going through.
Yeah.
What would your advice be then to anyone with like just a bit of wind, or at what stage do you think you seek help?
Mate, I would say this is the biggest thing for me, is like, unless your doctors are 110% that you've got IBS, keep going back, because it could have killed me, because I was just, okay, it's IBS, and just accepted that. Unless you've had the tests, unless you've identified exactly what it is that triggers, you need to be pushing, because the bowels are something that are not to be messed with. Like, it was literally, I can't stress how close I was to the end, because I ignored a bellyache. It's mental.
Do you know what, man? That's your book. I Ignored a Bellyache.
Yeah,
that's
good.
your,
Yeah.
I ignored a bellyache. But it's strange, isn't it? Because is it that you don't strike me as a particularly macho bloke. You know, you're smart, you're clever, you're kind, you're caring, and yet even you didn't stop to go, hang about. Something's not right here.
I think the thing for me is like I come from a very, very working class background, and it was like boys don't cry, boys don't get sick. You know, if someone hits you, you hit them harder. All of that sort of that real working class background. So I think that probably as bright as you say I am and stuff like that, I think I probably still had that playing in the back of my head, like, you know, macho man from a council estate sort of thing. And then turns out it wasn't someone going to come down the street and knock me over the head. It was a little bellyache.
No, it was going to be you.
Yeah.
You're going to do it to yourself. It's that strange thing, isn't it? And then do you think does it play on your mind at all then, or do you ever feel like there's no cure, there's no treatment? Can it be undone? Can it be reversed?
Yeah, so I've got the option for a reversal, but it's quite a risky operation. So, and it also involves 3 different operations as well. So, first thing that would happen was they'd repair this, take the bowel out, reconnect it, and then put a bag on the other side of the belly.
Okay.
On the small intestine, while that and then there's a 6 months healing process for that. Then after that's done, I would then have this bag done, and then reconnected inside, and then hopefully it all works. But that's another 6 months. So I'm looking at about an 18-month sort of recovery period, and that's kind of like I just don't want to take 18 months out of my life really. So I'm quite happy to stick with the bag for now.
So what about the perforated bit? What's that gone?
So basically, they cut all of that out, so it's gone.
Okay.
But because the intestines are so big. So most people's intestines are in like a U shape, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas if I have mine reconnected, mine will sort of be more of a V. So because they've removed this whole strip up.
It's got a shortcut.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, it mean that you just lose loads of weight and you'll be like, next time I see you, you'll be like that.
Yeah. Whenever I'm doing weight loss, I do often wonder how much that intestine weighed. But now, to be honest with you, there's just so many risks with it. I just don't think I want to take them risks. I'm happy with the bag at the moment. And, you know, once the girls are a bit older and my little one's a little bit older and stuff like that, we'll cross that bridge again. But for now, it's just, I'm happy.
I mean, you can always make a pledge that you'll do it when West Ham win the league.
Yeah. Thanks for that, John. Kick a man while he's down. No,
kick him while he's down. But it's strange, isn't it? Again, part of the problem, as I see it, is that women, they go to doctors, they have invasive procedures all the time, smear tests and mammograms, and and they talk about their bodily functions in general. I know it's stereotyping, but that's what I do best. But lads, it's just the idea of being poked about or examined or having to be weak or vulnerable.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you ever use it as an excuse? Would she ever go like, "Oh, put a kettle," and you go, "Oh, me bag, love.
Nah.
It's really hurting. Oh, I'm in so much pain today."
No, I've never used it as an excuse. I think one of the funniest things is I'm now entitled to use a disabled toilet.
Mate,
okay,
happy days.
The dream, mate. It's all come together. But the thing is, like, I went to watch live at the Apollo.
Okay.
Not perform, unfortunately, but I went to watch it, and I used the disabled toilet to go in there and change my bag. And there was a lady waiting outside in a wheelchair afterwards, and she gave me so much grief for using the disabled toilet. And I literally flashed my bag at her like it was an FBI badge.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then she just she backtracked really quickly, and she was like, "I'm so sorry." So it's that whole judgment of invisible illnesses as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's a whole big area, but I like the idea. You should actually write FBI on it.
Yeah.
Get yourself.
The funny thing was, I was with my mate who had Crohn's as well. So like, it was just we were just with basically a walking bowel condition.
Who did you see at Live at the Apollo?
Maisie Adams and Scott Bennett as well. So
again, good comics. They've now done Live at the Apollo. Where do they go next? What do they do next? And I spoke to Scott about this recently. Like, what do you do? What's the aim? So you're going to tour?
It's going to
be bigger tours. In America, you go next level tour, next level film. But here we haven't reached that yet.
Nah, I think he'll be an arena comic before we know it.
Yeah, I think so. Although I was on Friday in a cinema with him. we were literally in front of the screen.
Yeah.
But again, it's funny for people listening. When you meet comics, everyone thinks, because I get it all the time. People go, "Why aren't you on a telly?" Or "Why aren't you more successful?" You go, "What do you mean? How do you measure success? What would you define for you, for Louie Green? What would be success?"
Success for me would be doing it as a full-time job. That's it. Being able to pay all my bills, not having to worry. Obviously, the dream is live at the Apollo because that's what you grow up with, innit? But if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. Just be a comic. Be a John Ryan. Be a John Ryan. That's what I want to
do. Be a John Ryan, mate. Get yourself one of these Japanese laundry screens. I've got a team of them working behind there, cleaning sheets. I never had that dream of live at the Apollo 8 out of 10 cats. I always wanted to do something with my academic background, my work experience, and then, what I've seen. Because I always remember going to my mate's dad's funeral. My mate was Jamaican, and his dad was like 78. I was like, wow, how did he live so long? Because in my family, the men don't live that long.
Yeah.
It's very much it's a big Irish thing. You got to die before you're 60 or before you're 65. And, I went to a succession of funerals where everyone died of cancer from smoking, drinking, and workplace. And I said to my mum, does none in our family ever die for something they believe in, fighting for a woman's honour or for their country? She's like, no. Oh, fair enough.
slap you around the NT to move on.
Yeah, it is that thing, isn't it? I don't know that it's possible to make a living as a full-time comedian in the UK anymore. When we used to do jonglers, you could, because you was on good money. Do jonglers, couple of foreign trips, couple of army gigs. Yeah, happy days. Jobbing comics were pulling 50 to 60 grand a year.
Yeah, it's difficult.
That's just all gone now. I regularly get offered headline gigs for 70 quid, and you go, wow.
It's insane, isn't it? I hit a milestone this month, and it is only this month, but this is the first month since doing comedy that I've been able to pay my entirety of my bills through comedy alone.
Okay, that's brilliant, mate. Well done.
Next month, I can't even pay my phone bill. So that's how ups and down it is.
Yeah, when your electric goes up, mate, you'll that OnlyFans page will come up and come out, isn't it?
I'll be fine, mate. I've brought a new kettle.
Mate, that's all you need. That's all you need. So does the missus work?
Yeah, Mrs. is a beautician and body piercer.
I can't believe she's not worked on that stoma. You haven't got it, glammed up.
Some sort of ring going through it or something.
Diamanted up, mate. Get it all. But you're not Essex, so are you Norfolk or Suffolk?
Suffolk.
Yeah. So you're just one county away from diamantes and vajazzling.
Yeah, no chance of you getting any of that. It's a ring piece in itself. She's not going to put another ring in it.
Wow. And I wonder though, it's that thing of, because if you've got two of you with like self-employed, there's I think that's braver than the idea that you've got a stoma. I think the fact that you're trying to survive and thrive, on your own enterprise.
Yeah, I think, to be honest as well, like this is where me and my partner get on so well. She's like ridiculously driven as well, so we're both out there to make sure. We both had a difficult upbringing in the fact that she lost her dad really early, and there was no money there, and there was no money in my family. So I think we've just got this drive to make sure that our family has the things that we didn't have. So I think that's quite a big thing. And there's been times, John, and I'll be honest with you, mate, where I've been running around takeaways to try and earn a bit of extra money to make sure I've covered bills and stuff. But, it's just the job we pick, innit?
Yeah. And it's interesting that you've got very much a very well-grounded, rounded view of life and your place in it. Each week I ask guests to give a tip for well-being, and, given what you've been through, and it's just amazing that you're chirpy, let alone, because I'm telling you, mate, I would be milking that. I'd have a blue badge. I'd be at Alton Towers every other weekend, jumping the queue. Balloons are us, mate. I'll be getting all the blankets. What's your tip? What would you say? What would you say to someone who's facing a health problem or a life crisis? What
I think for me, just like in general, the one thing that's got me through everything is I don't compare myself to anybody.
Oh, mate, that's great.
I never ever look at somebody and think, "Oh, I wish I had what they had."
Yeah.
Or, I'm better than them. Do you know what I mean? Because I just think comparisons in this world, like we've got Instagram and things like that, and I've like a lot of people moan about how toxic social media is, but there's a lot of positives to social media as well. But the one thing I don't like about it is the fact that there's so many opportunities to compare yourself to other people, and it's one of the most unhealthiest places to be, is that comparison situation.
So it's funny for me because in my family, if you stood out, you got slapped down. So I'm almost the opposite, and I have to physically remind myself to tell people what I've done. And
Yeah,
even on social media, I don't put all the gigs I do on there. I don't put all the work I do on there because I know that a lot of people are having a tough time, and I don't want them to go, "Oh, he's working every day."
that's why you're getting them £70 headline spots, mate.
Mate, I'm telling you what, I just had one come through now while we're talking. It just flashed up in the top corner. But it is about that thing of having a realistic understanding of what you're doing. I signed up to start a project on suicide awareness for young farmers. And I had to have a proper interview. And it's going to be a comedy run project. But I've taken the time to find it, source it, research it, apply for it, and go for it. And the last thing I want is someone to go, "Oh, mate, you're so lucky."
Yeah.
And you've got that drive as well, mate, which is why I've got no doubt you'll be a success. And I think that, I would love to work with you on some of the kind of men's side, the mental health side stuff, because you're matter of fact. There's no "oh, woe is me." It's that well grounded because of your life experience. I think you'd be an asset.
I can't do the whole woe me thing because there's people out there that are a lot worse off. I know for a fact that there's people that have grown up in foster care and, they're now addicted to drugs or alcoholics or, I was lucky enough to avoid all of that sort of stuff. So like, there is no woe me because I know that there's people out there that are not like that. So it needs to be, I've just got to keep trying to make it better, really. And if anybody, and again, like anybody that listens to this, if you're ever in a rubbish place and you need to reach out, I'd always answer the message. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I say, there's no woe me. It's about us.
I think people like yourself, Pete, who's just popped in to kind of say hello. He's enjoying his listen. This is a guy who's waiting for a transplant. And you wouldn't know it. He's chirpy, and obviously not on Sunday when Arsenal lost, but people like yourself who just live in this world and you're going through stuff that would break most people, but you just seem to get on with it. And I don't know if it's genetic, innate life experience, nurture, socializing, what it is, but it's sorry. Adrian is really on fire tonight. Adrian suggests that your partner should indeed decorate your bag, and you can use this on stage if you wish. You need to stomazzle it.
Stomazzle. I like that. That's good.
Have that on yourself. Yeah. People like yourself, people like Pete, going through it and just getting on with it, mate. And that's inspirational. You didn't choose to be inspirational, but just the way you're coping with things, mate. That's what
I appreciate that, man.
Where can people see you? Have you got any gigs coming up, or how do you listen to your radio show?
Yeah, so Felixstowe Radio 107.5 FM is the place to be on a Wednesday at 7:00 for the comedy hour, where I'll be honest with you, that's nowhere near as organised as this. It's nothing but utter chaos. And gigs wise, just all the social medias, Louie Green Comedy, and give me a follow on them. I post all my gigs up there, and come along and see me if you want to.
Until your OnlyFans site kicks in. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. The last hour has flown by.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Hope to speak to you soon, yeah?
Yeah, see you soon, man.
Cheers, mate. Stay safe. That was the amazing Louie Green. What an incredible story. Just to have a bit of a bellyache and find yourself waking up in hospital that you could have died. It's just amazing. But just that kind of matter-of-factness about how you just get on with it. Some people could just get on with it. And I don't know, like I said, if it's nature with him, if it's nurture. You wouldn't think this is a guy that has been through a tough time, because I guess we don't listen with our hearts. Adrian down in Cardiff, obviously, mate, I'm not including you in this, or you, Pete, because you guys very caring, very sensitive. But most of us, we don't. We listen with our ears and we don't take the time. We don't make the time because we're too selfish or we're too self-absorbed. Adrian, thank you. Yeah, great chat. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Just want to finish off by just bringing to your attention, though, as the nights draw in, people do get sadder. And there is something called seasonally affective disorder. It affects about 10 million people. And it's about people suddenly, they sleep too much, get really tired during the day, crave carbs, put on weight. These are also symptoms that other things can be going on and can be going wrong. So if you do experience these, bear in mind that it might not just be seasonally affective disorder. The most common age group is 18 to 30. And for members of our BAME community, if that's what we still, I don't even know what we call it, people of colour, black people, Asian people, Mediterranean people, when the sunlight goes down, your vitamin D suffers even more. So do please encourage all your friends, but particularly those from those communities, to take a vitamin D supplement or to go and get yourself down to the doctors. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling hopeless, you can lack in interest in that. These are things that are all indicative of seasonal affective disorder. Not really recognised a lot in this country, but in parts of the world where they have more dramatic day and night times, it is kind of considered to be a valid medical condition. So do check yourself out, take a little supplement. I should really be able to go, take the John Ryan vitamin D tablet and it will sort out all your seasonally adjusted disorder problems. But I wouldn't do that. I'm just saying, like, drink water, go for a walk, take time. If you know anyone who's struggling, or if you're struggling yourself, there is help out there. Don't feel that you've got to go through things on your own when there are some great resources, great organizations. So Time to Change are an amazing group of people. Timetochange.org.uk and mind.org.uk. Very, very good, exceptionally helpful people. But also come along to the men's radio station and women's radio station. Have a listen. The show's on every day. Not all kind of heavy in your face stuff. A lot of them very clever, really worth a listen. The Daily Show, lunchtimes every day with Russ, is great listen. And there's stuff on a whole range of subjects. The website's got some great resources on, so do have a little look at that. Well, I want to kind of leave you with a couple of thoughts. I'm turning to, what was his name? Fraser. Yeah, Dr. Fraser. What do you want? What do you want out of life? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Why do you do what you do? And why can't we change our behaviours? We talked about seasonally adjustive disorder, right? Because, it's a reality that as the weather gets darker, you may feel sadder. But other things make us sad as well. And what do you do when you feel sad? You have a beer, or you indulge in reckless behaviours, or you smoke too much, drink too much. The best thing you can do, if you can, is reach out. Talk to people. If you're not in a position to talk to people, then hopefully someone will talk to you. If you know someone who needs a helping hand, then do just put your hand on their shoulder and go, like, what can I do to help make your life better? And am I doing anything that is making your life worse? Because you do not want to end up in a situation where you're feeling sad, you've got low energy, you're feeling worthless, trouble sleeping, trouble thinking. Because once depression gets hold of you, it can be difficult to shake it off. It's not the end of the world. Everything can be helped or alleviated. But it starts with those of us who are in a good place reaching out to help people who are not in a good place. And that's where the men's radio station and women's radio station come in handy, because you're never on your own. You're part of a big family, and we're growing all the time. Do follow us on social media. We'll see you again next week. You take care. Stay safe. Well, that's the end of another great show. What a brilliant guest that was. I could have spoken to them for hours. Don't forget to check out all the other brilliant shows on the mensradiostation.com website, as well as womensradiostation.com as well. Do subscribe to all of our media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all those things, but tell your friends. Big thank you to Lost Boys UK, who have provided this fantastic music for the show. Check out my website, happytohealthy.com. We'll be back next week. really do take care of yourself. And remember, you're not on your own. You're part of the mensradiostation.com family. Take care. Good night.